Another situation the debtors frequently encounter is wage garnishment.
Yes.
If some creditor has attached their salaries, paychecks, how is that handled in bankruptcy?
Well, the moment that you file bankruptcy, the automatic stay comes into place, which means that all creditors have to stop collection actions. So right away we could stop the wage garnishment immediately.
Immediately. Okay, very good. Now, Tina, if somebody has a lien on their house, how is that lien handled in a bankruptcy proceeding?
Okay, well, there's a lot of ways to handle liens, but for the most part, we could avoid the lien. If the value of the house is more than the mortgage balance right now, okay, the lien is unsecured. And so if the lien's unsecured, it'll be discharged in the bankruptcy, and we have to get the judge's permission to avoid it. And right now, because of the market, we're being able to avoid a lot of second mortgages.
I see. Very good. Michael, you had mentioned that during the Chapter 13 there's a payout schedule. Well, unlike a 7 where everything's written off, Chapter 13 there is some sort of a payout. What happens if the debtor falls behind all those payments?
Well, you have to figure out whether the reason they fell behind is something that's short-term or long-term. And unfortunately, it is a payment scheme. So if you cannot make the payments, eventually your case will be dismissed. However, there are ways to alter the schedule of the payments. There are ways to help a person try and get caught up. You could possibly even try and reduce payments sometimes if income has gone down, all depending on what has to be repaid and what's going to be discharged. But, I mean, the important thing is to basically get into court and try to explain what has happened and get some sort of forgiveness of the delinquency on the payments.
What about new debt? If somebody's in a Chapter 13 payout period and they incur new debt, how does that have an impact on the Chapter 13 bankruptcy?
For the most part, any debt that comes up after you file the case, you're not going to be able to discharge that. You can try and repay it through the Chapter 13, especially suppose you file your taxes 1 year and all of a sudden owe a bunch. You can try and repay that through the payment plan. But in general, anything that comes up after you file the case, you're going to have to repay that at 100%.
I see. Occasionally in these bankruptcy situations, somebody's borrowed money from their qualified plan, 401k plan. How is that debt treated in a bankruptcy proceeding?
In a Chapter 7, you cannot necessarily get away with continuing to repay that because you are, after all, paying your own account.
That's right. It's your own money.
In a Chapter 13, however, that's a protected type of repayment, so you can continue to repay it. If you don't repay the debt, you can always choose not to, but then you certainly have income realized for the amount of the loan, usually a penalty. You'll have to pay that tax debt if you don't repay the 401k loan. But, I mean, what you have to do is try and show why it's justified to pay that 401k.